This is Andy Purewal for Boxing News. I'm joined by legendary British boxing promoter Frank Warren over Zoom. Frank, always good to see you. How are you? How is life?
I'm good, Andy. How are you, my son?
I'm very well, thank you. As I said, I'm glad to be seeing you. And it's announced now the 5 versus 5. The news is out on the weight categories. How excited, Frank, are you for June 1st to swing around now?
I'm very excited. It's a concept that I really do buy into. Um, Matchroom's best five against our best five at those respective weights is going to be something really exciting. I mean, very, very exciting for the fans.
Frank, we've obviously seen yourself and Team Matchroom and Eddie Hearn grow a bit more of a better relationship over these recent months. All of that goes out of a window, I take it, come June 1st.
Well, we're going to smash the windows. Don't worry about that. I mean, this is war. I'm serious. We want to win this. We're not making, nobody's showing up to make up the numbers. We're there to win this. We're going to make sure that our best fighters are in there, and our team will go in there as a team. No one's going to want to let the team down. Nobody. So it's going to be a winning mentality from my guys. They've got a winner's mentality. We'll win.
Frank, obviously, with the weights that have been announced, even other weights which you might have considered, from the moment this entire idea was first put to you and you guys came to terms with it, was it difficult trying to not allow some of maybe your better fighters or fighters who you might have had in the back of your mind fighting in this competition to go out and fight in other shows? Has it been difficult to manage that side?
Not really. I mean, first of all, you can't put Tyson in the heavyweights because he's fighting on the 18th anyway. So, but we've got a very strong heavyweight um, roster of fighters, some really seriously good fighters on there. So we're strong in that department. Uh, Middleweight division's always been traditionally a strong division for us and for the Brits. We always do well out, and they've got some good fighters as well in both those weights. Um, for me, this is all been about. I mean, we could only pick two weights apiece, and then his HE picked a weight that he wanted to see, as we know now is heavyweight. We always, you know, we've got to put our best fighters in, but the best matches that we can make for those respective titles, we've got to make sure we make them, and they will be good competitive fights.
I mean, Frank, I think it'd be hard for anybody to disagree looking at the current state of play in the heavyweight division across the UK. You certainly boast the best stable in that division. You must have been licking your lips when you saw Mr. Turki El Sheikh also say he wants to see a heavyweight tie brought to the equation on his behalf.
Well, he's done that, but he's also threw a little bit of a spanner in the works by saying that somebody can, or either of us can go and sign a guy up like a wild card. Well, I don't think we'll be looking to sign anyone up, but maybe Matchroom will. Who knows? I don't know. But don't come after any of our fighters.
Um,
I think it's so exciting. It's such a great concept, and the added spice of the captains gets 2 points for the team. And the wild card fighter. It makes it really really intriguing. And as I say, these five fighters from each team will know what's at stake here. They won't want to be letting down their respective promotional organisations, that's for sure.
Frank, as you mentioned, Mr. Al Sheikh, he threw the spanner in the work, allowing kind of Eddie to go and look around, do a bit of window shopping, if you will, or maybe make that window shopping a bit more permanent, I should say. Um, there's obviously been those reports that came out of potential Wilder-Zhang fight, and Daniel Dubois and Filip-Hrgovic. Are those fights in that equation? Is maybe Eddie looking at the likes of a Deontay Wilder or a Filip-Hrgovic to come in against one of your guys?
I have no idea because we won't be revealing them until the press conference in April. That's what this is all about. Got the weight divisions, and then we reveal our respective fighters at that press conference.
What did you make of those reports which came out last week?
Well, people are always speculating and looking to come up with a so-called exclusive, but really it spoils what we're trying to do here. Be pleased that the fights are on, show a bit of patience, and at the end of the day, you're going to get what you want, which is to see our two respective organisations up against each other with our fighters to see who's the best. You know it's going to be competitive. It goes without saying. We're competitive people, competitive businesses. So you know you're going to get cracking fights. There's no doubt about that.
Frank, I know you. Sorry to cut you there, Frank. I was going to say, I know you said that you have to kind of withhold some of that information until the announcement comes in April. I'm going to push a little bit. I'm going to speak in a hypothetical world with all of those reports say of Wilder-Zhang, it might leave Joseph Parker free. With that in mind, Parker's a Queensberry fighter now. I've done a few interviews and I've suggested I'd love to see an Anthony Joshua rematch. Now, Anthony Joshua is a matchroom fighter. Anthony Joshua also posted on Instagram something about getting back into the gym. He's had a call about a potential opportunity upcoming. Could we see Joshua Parker 2 land on this card? Is it possible?
Anything's possible at the moment. Anything's possible. And that's what makes it so intriguing and exciting.
I can tell I can't push for too much more on that front, but with some of those other names, I know that Nick Ball's been mentioned against Ray Ford. You've got Hamza Shearer has been mentioned against Ammo Williams, but are those the types of the levels of the fighters that we're expecting you to put in those top names?
All those fights you're talking about are very, very sexy and very, very entertaining fights. Who knows?
Victory on June 1st in this 5 vs 5, Frank. Where would this rank in your history in sport because of the competitive nature of the two businesses?
Oh, it's got to be the one, isn't it? You know, kicking your competitor's ass. Everyone loves to do that. It's like that's like an Arsenal Spurs game or a Man United Man City. That's what it is, mate. That's what we're talking about here. Everything is at stake.
What would you rather, Frank? Arsenal lift for Premier League at the end of the season, or you're victorious over Matchroom and Eddie on June 1st?
June 1st, all day long.
Also, when you get your thoughts on this Wembley show, which has been spoken about as well, come September. I know that's very early stages. That's a while away yet, but it seems like that might be a bit of a relief to the British boxing fans. I asked you about this in Birmingham. I asked this to Eddie in Sheffield last week. That for some British boxing fans being a bit concerned from seeing so many of their favourite fighters go to Saudi, it must be a bit of a relief to know that you're going to try and do something at Wembley of all places for everybody as well.
But there are over 1,000, well over 1,000 registered British boxers in this country. And there've been some of our boxers have gone to Saudi and done brilliantly and put in some great performances. But you just mentioned over the past few weeks, you've been with Eddie in, was it Sheffield?
Yeah.
With us up in Birmingham, although you didn't buy me dinner. And the other shows that we've done, we're still putting great shows on. We're putting really competitive shows together and we'll continue to do so. And like I say, you know, not everybody can buy a ticket or go to a show, so they watch it on TV. And, you know, the last one started later than expected, but it still wasn't 5 o'clock in the morning. It was, what was it, 12:30?
Yeah.
The first bell, which is not a ball breaker. So they're getting to see the fights at, you know, at pretty respectable times if they are on in Saudi. And obviously we continue to do what we're doing here. And what we're going to be putting on at Wembley is going to be something extra, extra special. Everybody collectively, HE, myself, Matchroom as well, all of us are working hard to make that to be a special, special event. And it will be.
One thing I'm also interested in, obviously, I've seen Mr. Turkey El Sheikh mention David Benavidez potentially facing the winner of Beterbiev-Bivol. Do you think we might start to see some of those other American stars cross over into the world of Saudi Arabian boxing?
Well, American, you know, top American boxers fight on the shows, haven't we? They come over and already fought on some of the shows, and that the winner of that fight on the 1st of June facing him would be a fantastic fight. Would be a brilliant fight. I'd love to see that. That is a great fight.
Obviously, another leading UK promoter who doesn't seem to have much of an involvement at this moment in time in Saudi is that of Shalom and BOXXER. Are there any plans to try and them to come over and start to be included in some of those events?
Not at the moment. I mean, we're doing the Matchroom 5v5 with us. I mean, that's where we are. I mean, who knows what will happen in the future.
Also, I want to get your thoughts. And you mentioned kind of watching it back home for those.
They could interrupt you. I mean, rather than 5, they could make one of those great fights anyway, can't they? I mean, that show the weekend Aziz and what's his name, Smith would be a cracker, wouldn't it?
Just moving forwards there, Frank, as I mentioned, the broadcast deal. There's obviously been some reports of yourselves and DAZN potentially teaming up for them to gain the rights to your internationally and worldwide outside of the UK. What can you tell me about that?
Not a lot, mate. I don't know where all this stuff comes from.
Is there nothing in it?
No, nothing, nothing I know of at the moment. And we have a broadcast partner, and we're really satisfied with where we are at the moment, which is TNT.
Frank, speaking again though of TNT, we saw a fantastic kind of fairy tale story this past weekend when Ashley Lane came out on top against Chris Bourke. Just walk me through that fight and what you made of it all.
I thought Chris won the first couple of rounds, and I thought he was going to win the fight. I thought he was controlling it well, nice straight shots, his jab and whatever. But Ashley stuck to his game plan, which is obviously to apply lots and lots of pressure, and eventually got through and done what he had to do. Chris is a lovely fella. He's been with us, and he's obviously with a Peacock with Martin and Tony, and we think very highly of him. However, the best man won on the night, as was proven, and I didn't know what his backstory was until afterwards when he was telling the press and some of the media. And I found that amazing that he, the homelessness and the streets, all this, and the problems that he had. I mean, you got to take your hat off to him. It's a great story. It's a real good story, and obviously he'll be wanting to now capitalise on being champion, and we'll put him in other big fights. And I mentioned it a couple of times already, but I thought she'd done a great job. His cuts woman, Liz. She gave me a business card that, as she calls herself, the Sealer, which I thought was quite appropriate. And they were. Yeah, I was really thrilled for him. First champion to come out of Northampton. That's brilliant. Good for him. And it's nice to create a bit of history. And I thought it was a nice story. It's just a shame that you have to get a loser, because Chris is a nice guy too. He's a lovely fella. But as I say, the best man won on the night, and that's where we are. Great night. It was a really good night. Good card, exciting card, some really good fights on there.
Just with Chris, I saw how devastated and disappointed he was after the fight. But can he take inspiration from Ashley Lane, because he's had to do it the hard way? He hasn't been successful in chasing that British title until then. Can he take inspiration from that?
I think you have to take inspiration from guys, who stick at it and eventually come through, because they show it can be done. As I say, losing a fight is not the end of the world. It's how you deal with it, how you come back from it. And that sorts the men out from the boys if they can do it. So we'll see. And that applies to anybody. I mean, I remember, when we did the fight between very early in their careers with George Groves and James DeGale. James, I thought, it was a very close fight and lost the fight, but at the end of the day, they both went on and won world titles. So don't be despondent if you get a loss. Look at Amir Khan getting knocked out in one round by Bradus Prescott, and he came back in a couple of fights, 2 fights later, and was a world champion. It's all about having the desire and the wherewithal to deal with a loss, how you deal with it, and show what you're made of.
Frank, Moses Itauma, how difficult of a proposition is it to match him at this moment in time?
It's difficult. It's not difficult. His opponent pulled out, and he had a short notice opponent. Having said that, the difficulty is finding someone who I feel can take his power, because he's got tremendous power. He's got great hand speed. He's very fast. He moves very quickly. And he's going to do that to nearly everybody at this level that he fights at. And as we step him up, and he's still a teenager. He's only 19 a couple of months ago. He's still a teen. So he's showing that he can deal with men, and he will just get better and better. We will put him in tougher and tougher fights. I fancied putting him in with Kash for the next fight, and I understand my office approached his people, but they weren't too interested in the fight, which is a shame, because I thought that had been a good step up for him.
That would have been a great fight to have made next. And with that in mind, I know he's been spoken about for that May 18th bill. is that kind of the area and the level that you'd like to see him in with next then?
Well, we'll see who he's in with next, on the 18th. But he'll be in for it. May even be his first title fight. We'll see.
Just final thing from me, Frank, before we wrap this up. Joshua Buatsi, Anthony Yarde, what's the latest?
Well, we're still working on it, and I think it's got to come to a head this week. We've agreed terms with one of the parties, and we're just trying to get the other one sorted out now.
Are you confident you can get this one over the line?
You should go over the line because everybody's got to show a bit of common sense. And otherwise, it'll be one of those fights that we'll all be peed off that it never happened.
I mean, if it didn't, does Anthony then potentially become into the equation for the light heavyweight mix on June the 1st?
We will see. We will see. Let's see what happens this week. I mean, the fight I want to see is the fight with Josh Buatsi, and that's what everybody wants to see, including both the boxers. But it's working out how we're getting the terms right for one of them.
Right. Well, Frank, listen, I appreciate your time. I'm sure you're going to be a busy man today. Thank you for speaking to me. Enjoy what's left, and I'll get you food next time you're in Birmingham. We'll take you for a nice meal.
I look forward to that, Andy.